Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Stefanie Drysdale's weekly cyber recap number 14 for Friday, April 10th, 2020. Stefanie, welcome.
Thank you, Chuck. How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. We're probably, in our second, third week of home isolation, quarantine for some states, mandatory for others. The landscape's
Yeah.
changing. Rules are changing about cyber and workspace. And I'm sure you have even more interesting stuff this week. What's going on?
Uh, yeah, it's definitely, the weeks are going on and on. I think it's April 72nd right now, it feels like. So we're just kind of trying to get through. Excellent. So I'll just jump straight in. This week, this has been called out several times. I'll go ahead and mention it again. There are a lot of questions as to how much your employer or the government can look into your private messages, especially if you're the subject of some type of government review or investigation. Just be mindful that everything is up for grabs. Your private phone, your personal messages, your personal photographs. So don't ever think that your messages are completely safe. This is going to kind of go into some other messages in terms of like ephemeral messages that disappear and delete on their own. There are going to be some rules around these things, so make sure that you're following and adhering to them. You don't want to get yourself in deep water. Charles Erding this week shared a couple of really great articles, I thought. One talking about two-factor authentication versus authenticators. 2FA is where you set up an account to have a second degree of security, and they'll send you an SMS or a text message to verify your identity. Those are really helpful, but easily intercepted, especially if you get like a SIM swapping attack on your phone where someone kind of takes over your account. The way around that right now is to get an authenticator, anything kind of like Google or Microsoft Authenticator or Authy. Those things are just good to check into to learn how to add another layer to the security on your device and make sure your accounts are authenticated without the added risk of SIM swapping. I'm loving during this crisis that there are companies like ZDNet and Pluralsight that are offering free classes so that we can maximize our time home with learning and additional education. Again, with the unemployment rate being so high right now, and with people being out of work, this is a great time for personal enrichment to look deep into subjects that maybe you wanted to learn more about before and maybe you never had the time or didn't have quite the resources. This is solving both of those problems. So make sure you check those out if you're interested. Lots of talk lately about Zoom video conferencing, whether or not it's safe, whether it's not. I think we've all realized that not only Zoom, but a lot of platforms have been compromised lately now that we're all using them so often and not necessarily started off being so locked down with our security protocols on those. So Alex Stamos, former the CISO for Facebook, he has stepped up and been brought in to be a security advisor. And he, along with some other really respected talent in the industry, is going to help advise and help make that platform a lot more secure and protected. So it's a great thing. We'd love to see this for a lot of companies and just industries as a whole. I think the CISO community in particular is really good at banding together and sharing knowledge and information. A very generous community. So I'm very, very much looking forward to this being a model. So in March alone, 667% increase in phishing attacks. So phishing, if you recall, is where you get an email, it has a link or something for you to click, and then you're compromised either through opening and downloading something or for entering in your credentials. So 667% is huge. Make sure, Kevin Mitnick at KnowBe4 reminded us to make sure that our organizations are conducting their own phishing campaigns so that when these things do come across, you know how to recognize them and to not fall prey to the specific gimmicks that they're using, whether that be coronavirus info or company info or any other things. So keep an eye out for those. Martin Nielsen at AS Solutions this week kind of called out how we're getting a lot of conflicting information, even from the CDC, as it relates to whether or not to wear masks. Obviously, there are different types of masks: the homemade masks, the store-bought mask, and then the bigger, more industrial healthcare versions of the mask. I think the major thing here is that the masks do a couple of things, even when they're not healthcare grades. They're helping us remember not to touch our face first and foremost. And then on top of that, they're helping us to kind of keep our own bodily fluids to ourselves, if you will, and just kind of keep that a little bit safer. If everybody's kind of protected, then that's just one more layer. It may not be 100% foolproof, but it, again, helps the healthcare community stay on top of this and helps it not spiral out of control. So definitely helpful to keep that in mind as you venture out for your weekly grocery trip or your bi-weekly. This week also, Hacker Combat shared their 10 best cybersecurity books you should read in 2020. I think you have a little free time lately, so now might be a good time to hit a few of those. And for coronavirus this week, I just wanted to touch on a few points that keep coming up that it's worth conversations and worth looking deeper into if you're impacted this way. Social isolation. There are a lot of people that are alone, whether it be elderly or just people who live by themselves. Fostering animals and things like that seem to be helping. But keep an eye on one another. Mental illness is another one. People who struggle with anxiety, depression, PTSD, any kind of anxiety disorders are going to have a tough time right now. So if you have a company and you are trying to provide resources and support, those are good places to start. If you have friends and neighbors, whatnot, just, drop a call, do what you can. Domestic violence, again, we've touched on this before. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. Children aren't in school, so parents have a lot of stress, problems, money, financial concerns, things that were already issues are bigger issues. Again, take care of each other, reach out, provide resources when you can. Disinformation campaigns. Troy Hunt, who hosts the website Have I Been Pwned, one of my favorite websites to share with people. Troy really called out the 5G hoax. I'm hearing a lot of people ask me about this. These are completely unrelated. This is really nothing but a disinformation campaign. Coronavirus and 5G are not related. Don't let any news story tell you that they are. So keep in mind that when you're sharing this information, that you're sharing disinformation. So, please be mindful what you're sharing. It tends to create problems. In several places, these 5G towers are being destroyed, and that's negatively impacting healthcare workers and first responders' ability to communicate with people when they need it during this crisis. Spencer Corson shared an article this week about tribalism and politics. I love the topic of tribalism because politics can really be polarizing, and how it's being leveraged right now for the coronavirus situation. So again, make sure you're getting your information from credible sources and that you understand that we're all in this together, and it really doesn't matter on what sides of the party lines you're standing. There have been a lot of people that have expressed some sadness this week regarding people that they love or that they know who have been impacted or have passed because of the coronavirus, and how difficult it has been to grieve through this process when we can't gather for normal rites of passage that we do as humans. So again, try to be sensitive and make an extra effort to reach out to those impacted since we can't do that quite in a physical way that we're used to. Anyway, we're all here. Feel free to reach out. We appreciate you all and all the feedback. So keep smiling and keep your chin up. And hopefully we'll be through this soon. But that's all I have for you this week. I look forward to talking to you all next week.